Discovering 8M wealth changed everything. How my sister's revelation inspired incredible karma. The news hit Elmswood like a summer storm. Sarah's estranged sister Emily had returned, and with her, an inheritance of 8 million. Whispers filled the air, twisting and turning as if they had a life of their own. How could Emily return after years of bad choices, and why now? As Sarah pushed through the hospital's double doors, the weight of worry sat heavily on her shoulders. She was a dedicated nurse, working her fingers to the bone to provide for Jake. As a single mother, every day felt like climbing a mountain one she had nearly mastered. But now the very fabric of her life was about to unravel. Inside their small home, Jake was bouncing off the walls, excited to see his mom. "Guess what, Mom? I scored the winning goal in soccer," he shouted, his face shining with pride. Sarah's heart melted. This boy was her reason for everything. In that tiny moment amidst their struggles, Sarah felt hope. She could steer Jake towards a brighter future, even if their finances didn't match the sky-high aspirations. But hope turned to disbelief later that evening as Sarah learned about Emily's windfall. 8 million. The figure echoed in her mind, taunting her. How can it be? After everything, how could she get that kind of luck? Resentment twisted her insides like a vine. Her family's past loomed larger than life, a living ghost ready to haunt their newfound reality. Community gossip only amplified the chaos, pouring salt on old wounds as stories of Emily's past mistakes floated like ashes through the town. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Tension buzzed in the air as the sisters faced each other for the first time in over a decade. Emily's eyes, a mirror of pain, met Sarah's steady gaze. Memories flooded in. The laughter over shared snacks, the fights and betrayals, the chasm that grew wide between them. Each word spoken was a raw nerve. "I want to help you, Sarah," Emily pleaded, guilt staining her voice. "Jake needs treatment. I can pay for it." The truth sliced through the stillness. Sarah's maternal instincts wrestled in her heart, a clash between pride and love. Her chest tightened, tears pricking at her eyes. "You've made your choices. Why now? Why should I trust you?" The floodgates of emotion opened. Sarah's voice trembled with unspent anger, love and hope. Could this money become a bridge or a chasm? The community buzzed louder, challenging the ethics of wealth and the burdens of love. But within that storm something shifted. On a night of surprising softness, a neighbor appeared on their doorstep, soup in hand, a small act of kindness that sparked a flicker of hope. It softened the sisters' hearts and unraveled the weight of resentment. In that moment, cracks formed in their walls of pride as they stood amid tumult and uncertainty. Sarah and Emily began to weave their threads anew. Could love transform them? Could forgiveness heal past wounds? The storm brewed louder as possibilities hung in the air like a potent fragrance, each inhalation heavy with questions. As they took a tentative step forward into renewed connections, Sarah felt a flicker of courage igniting in her chest. Could she let go of her pride for Jake's future? The answer felt precarious, dangling like a tightrope beneath her feet. What awaited them on the other side? The following days felt like walking through the eye of a hurricane. Outside, the world was a cacophony of opinions, judgment, and simmering tension, but inside the small house Sarah and Jake called home, there lingered an unexpected calm. Sarah's heart wrestled with the weight of Emily's offer. How could she possibly consider accepting help from the sister who had once shattered their family's trust? That Thursday afternoon, the sun streamed through the kitchen window, casting a golden glow on the worn tables. Jake, oblivious to the emotional storm, sat at that very table, doodling soccer players and fantastical creatures. The innocence of his laughter filled the room, a soothing balm on Sarah's fraying nerves. She watched him intently, marveling at the perfectly untangled joy of a child. In his world, nothing else mattered but winning games and finding hidden treasures in the backyard. "Mom, can we go to the park today? Please?" Jake's wide eyes sparkled with excitement, and Sarah felt a pang of guilt wash over her. How could she put a damper on his joy with the weight of adult concerns? "Sure, buddy. Let me just finish this, she replied, forcing a smile. But her thoughts drifted back to Emily and that promise of help. Could it really change everything? A part of her longed for the financial security that money could bring. A chance at stability for Jake. But could she ever overcome the betrayal of her sister's past? The park was filled with laughter and shouts from children playing under the watchful eyes of their parents. Sarah stood on the sidelines, her arms wrapped around her middle like a protective shield. Watching Jake kick the soccer ball with all of his might, she felt the warmth of pride touch her heart. His carefree spirit reminded her of what was truly important: love, family, and health over financial gain. As hours passed, a feeling of restlessness began to bubble within her. What would it mean to reach out to Emily? To allow her into their lives again? The very idea seemed paradoxical, like letting a lion into a flock of sheep. But what of Jake's needs? His treatments? What sacrifices was she willing to make for his sake? Later that evening, with the sun setting behind the treetops, casting long shadows across the living room, Sarah sat at the kitchen table. The phone lay silent beside her. A conversation brewed inside her mind, battling resilience against the urge to bury her pride. She could reach out just once. Just to talk. No strings attached. Taking a deep breath and steeling herself with determination, she grabbed her phone. Her fingers hesitated over the screen as she typed in Emily's number, the digits feeling foreign yet strangely familiar. But the moment before she hit send was shattered by the ringing doorbell. Sarah jumped, her heart racing as she opened the door to find an unexpected visitor standing there. Emily, looking hesitant but resolute, holding a box of cookies. "Can we talk?" An uneasy silence fell between them, charged with unspoken words and years of distance. This was the moment they had both anticipated, but it felt even heavier than Sarah had imagined. Here stood the architect of her past pain, now a potential lifeline for her future. "Okay," Sarah conceded, stepping aside to let Emily in. "But we need to be honest with each other." As Emily crossed the threshold, an unglued tension wrapped around them, pulling them both into the unknown. Would honesty pave the way for healing, or would it lead to more wounds? The answers loomed just beyond reach, hiding in the recesses of their past. Could this fragile bridge they were trying to build withstand the weight of their history, or was it destined to collapse beneath the pressure of their buried emotions? The door clicked shut behind Emily, and the sound echoed in the small space like a warning. Sarah shifted on her feet, feeling the heat of a million confrontations blazing in the air between them. Emily glanced around, her eyes scanning the familiar yet foreign decor, as if she were reintroducing herself to a childhood home that had long forgotten her. It's been a while." Emily's voice trembled slightly at the edges, thick with uncertainty, and Sarah felt her heart clench. She had once known this voice, its confidence, its humor, but today it seemed weighty with the things left unsaid. "Yeah, it has," Sarah replied, her voice barely above a whisper. She gestured for Emily to sit at the table, feeling the air grow heavier as they took their places across from each other. Jake's crayons lay scattered among notes and shopping lists, remnants of a joyful mess that felt like a stark contrast to the tension enveloping them now. Silence stretched between them, an invisible wall laden with memories and unspoken grievances. Finally, Emily broke the quiet. "I know it's strange for me to just show up, but I've been thinking about Jake and about you." Sarah's breath caught in her throat at the mention of Jake. The very essence of her being was woven around him: his laughter, his struggles, and his fierce spirit. "What about us, Emily? How could you possibly believe that your sudden reappearance changes anything?" Emily's gaze dropped, her fingers tracing the rim of the cookie box. "I'm not asking you to forget. I know I hurt you, hurt him, but I want to help. I can help." "What do you mean?" Sarah felt her heart race at the thought, hope pinching her insides. Could Emily be serious? Would she truly offer what Sarah had been too proud to accept before? Her pulse quickened, pulsing wildly with equal parts skepticism and urgency. "I have resources now," Emily said, daring to meet Sarah's gaze. "I've come into some financial gains. A trust fund, way more than I thought. Enough to get you guys back on your feet. I want to help cover Jake's treatments." The air shifted. For the first time in days, Sarah felt a flicker of warmth spread through her heart. But then doubt seeped in, chilling the sensation. "And what's in it for you? Is this about guilt? Or some kind of redemption?" Emily swallowed hard, her eyes brimming with emotion. It's about more than that. I want to show that I care. I've been selfish for so long. I just want to be back in your lives if you'll let me. Tears sprang into Sarah's eyes, a mix of longing and anger bubbling up within her. You don't just get to walk back in and pretend the past didn't happen. It hurt too much, Emily. The pain in her voice sliced through the tension. Emily nodded, her eyes red. I know. Just give me a chance to show you I've changed. That I'm not the same person I used to be. For a moment, silence held them captive again. A choice loomed before Sarah embraced this opportunity for Jake. Risk opening a door that might lead to heartbreak again, or shut it and keep them in the bubble they had created. Jake's laughter rang through the house, a sweet reminder of innocent joy. Sarah's heart fluttered, caught between hope and fear. Would opening up her life really lead to healing, or would it simply rip apart the fragile threads they had managed to weave together since the hurt? As the clock ticked steadily in the background, an unspoken decision weighed heavily on Sarah. If I do this, she finally said, a whisper filled with tentative resolve, you have to promise to be honest. No more lies. Emily nodded vigorously, hope igniting in her eyes. Just as they began to move forward, Jake wandered into the kitchen, soccer ball in hand. What's going on? He asked, bright-eyed and innocent. Just talking, buddy, Sarah said, forcing a smile. But deep inside, uncertainty churned. They all looked at each other, and then Emily took a deep breath, ready to step further into their lives. The weight of the moment hung heavily over them, but it felt strangely electric too. Jake looked at his mom and back at Emily, confusion etched on his young face. Can we play soccer later? Yes, please, Emily replied with a newfound spark, her smile genuine. And for a fleeting moment, Sarah leaned into that flicker of hope. But as Emily reached out to touch Jake's shoulder, a kernel of doubt clenched in Sarah's gut. Was this a new beginning, or a repetition of the cycle of hurt they had endured for so long? With so many emotions swirling around, the next steps felt daunting. What kind of future were they building upon this uncertain ground? And just as they settled into the moment, Sarah's phone buzzed against the table, pulling her from her thoughts. A notification displayed words that left her breathless. Urgent news regarding your medical insurance. What did that mean for Jake? Before Sarah could shake off the initial shock of the message, her heart sank. The words danced in her mind, a strange echo that pulsed against the walls of uncertainty she'd built. Urgent news? Her stomach twisted in knots. She glanced at Emily, whose smile was warming Jake's innocent presence in a way that tugged at Sarah's heart, yet also buried her under layers of memory. This new life they were considering felt impossibly fragile. One notification launching them into an unknown storm. Can you give me just a second? She said, her voice barely above a whisper. She turned her back to the table, pinching the bridge of her nose as she fought to keep her composure. Taking a deep breath, she felt her phone vibrate again in her hand. The screen lit up with the message replaying in her mind. It was a notification from her insurance provider about an updated policy. Anxiety wrapped itself around her chest. Her breathing quickened as she realized how serious this could be. Treatments Jake needed were dependent on that coverage. Mom, Jake said, his voice cutting through the fog of her thoughts. She turned to see him looking up at her, worry etched across his little face. Everything's fine, sweetie. Just adult stuff. Her smile felt like a mask, but she tried to project reassurance. Across the table, Emily was trying to catch Jake's attention, and a prick of jealousy surged within Sarah. Emily seemed to effortlessly tap into that connection with him. Why should she get to be the one filling that void? Her heart fought against anger and fear all at once. What does it mean when it says urgent news? Jake asked, his brows furrowing, innocence clashing with the realities of adulthood. Just things we need to check, buddy, she replied, squatting down to meet his gaze. But right now, how about we focus on your game? Yeah, Jake exclaimed, eyes lighting up. His joy was contagious. Sarah stood, trying to shake off both the nagging sensation from the phone as well as her reservations about Emily. Can you go grab your shoes? She asked, and Jake dashed off with the kind of enthusiasm that only a child could possess. She took a deep breath. Emily watched her, eyebrows raised as if asking silently if she was okay. I really don't know about this, Sarah admitted quietly. What's wrong? Emily's voice was steady but laced with concern. It's about insurance. Something serious I need to find out for Jake's treatments. Emily's expression morphed from concern to determination. Let me help. Whatever it is, we can figure it out together. But you can't just I can. I want to. Just hear me out. Emily leaned closer, desperation creeping into her tone. If your coverage is falling through, I can help. I have the resources. Let me please. I can help because I want to be part of this and be there for you and Jake. No more running away. Sarah's heart raced. This was the crossroads she had feared. Thoughts whirled in her mind. Hope clashed with years of pain and mistrust. Was this a lifeline or a trap? Mom! I'm ready. Jake's call broke through the intense moment. Sarah turned to him, but her gaze flickered back to Emily. The woman she once knew and the one she feared were fighting for space in her heart. Could she truly let someone back in when so much was at stake? As Jake bounced back into the room, soccer ball in hand, he was blissfully unaware of the storm brewing just beneath the surface. Sarah took a step forward, caught between wanting to shield him and needing support herself. I need time to think, she finally whispered, all eyes on her. Emily nodded slowly, uncertainty mirrored in her own gaze. Okay, she said softly. But you're not alone anymore. Jake bounced the soccer ball exuberantly, and for a brief moment, they shared a smile that reminded Sarah of better days. Yet as she watched Emily join in Jake's excitement, questions buzzed in her mind like angry bees. What else might disturb their fragile balance? And would that message from the insurance company lead to a future Sarah feared? As they stepped outside into the warm sunlight, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to change forever. And soon she'd find out just how much. The soccer ball rolled across the porch and Jake chased after it, laughter spilling into the air like music. Sarah watched him, her heart both light and heavy. For a fleeting moment, the brightness outside filled her with hope that life could become normal again. But then the reality of the message flashed through her mind, a nagging reminder of the uncertainty looming close by. Mom, look! Jake yelled, his voice full of joy. He was lining up for a kick, his little body wound tight like a spring. Sarah felt herself smiling despite the worry that tangled inside. He was so innocent, so blissfully unaware of the abstract dangers that came with real life. Emily joined in the cheer, clapping her hands as if she were at a game. Go for it, Jake. With a swift movement, Jake sent the ball soaring. Sarah and Emily exchanged glances, and Sarah's smile faded just a bit. Was Emily truly here for them? Or was this just part of some grand plan to worm her way back into their lives? Another kick sent the ball flying past Jake, who ran after it again. The sound of his laughter echoed off the walls of the house, filling the air with a warmth that almost drowned out her anxieties. Yet the joy was short-lived. Hey, Sarah! Emily's voice interrupted her thoughts, pulling her back to the present. She watched as Emily approached her tentatively, a hint of vulnerability in her eyes. Yeah, what do you think? About us working together? The sincerity in Emily's voice cut through the noise. I know it's complicated, but I've been thinking, just imagine if we could get this figured out. The insurance, Jake's treatments. The mention of treatments sent a fresh wave of fear crashing over her. She swallowed hard, trying to compose herself. I need to know that I can trust you, Emily. This isn't just some casual partnership. This is about my son. I understand, Emily said quickly, her brows furrowing with sincerity. But I want to be part of Jake's life again. I'm not here to step on your toes. Just to help. You decide the pace. Could she trust Emily? Could she allow this potential lifeline into their life without it all falling apart? Jake dashed back towards them, holding the soccer ball triumphantly. Can we go to the park now? Please. He looked up at Sarah with those wide, innocent eyes that could melt even the hardest of hearts. Sure, Jake. Just give us a minute, she said, glancing back at Emily. Let us talk more on the way, Emily proposed, determination setting her posture. With a reluctant nod, Sarah grabbed her keys. The car ride to the park was only a few minutes, and she could feel the clock ticking down on her decision. As they drove through the familiar streets, Sarah's mind raced. Was it worth it to let Emily back into their world? Monstrous thoughts of betrayal mixed with tiny flickers of hope, as if allowing Emily in could create a safety net for Jake. A network of support they so desperately needed. Mom? Jake interrupted her thoughts again, his small voice wrapped in concern. You okay? Just thinking, she replied, forcing another smile. About what? He peered closely, searching her face for answers. About how we can make everything better, she said lightly, hoping to quell any unease. She glanced at Emily for a moment, a silent question passing between them. But before they could discuss things further, the world around them shifted. A figure ahead caught her attention, a woman on the street, her presence strikingly familiar. Sarah didn't realize her heart had begun to race until she heard Jake's tiny voice shake the air. "It's Aunt Julia," he exclaimed. The unexpected appearance of Sarah's estranged sister sent her spiraling. Julia hadn't been part of their lives for so long, preferring distance over connection. What was she doing here? The moment was charged and Sarah's breath hitched. This was not just another day at the park. The arrival of her sister felt like another dip into the unknown, lighting the spark of change. And as they approached, Sarah could already feel the gravity of this reunion pulling her in. Would this be a healing moment or another hurtful chapter? The question thudded in her chest as they pulled up to the curb. She could only hold her breath and brace for what was to come. Sarah parked the car and sat frozen, her fingers gripping the wheel. She could hardly process the whirlwind of emotions churning inside her. Jake was already scrambling out of the car, his joy infectious yet overwhelming for Sarah. "Mom, come on," he urged, jumping up and down, eager to see Aunt Julia. Emily hesitated, her brow furrowed as she sensed the shift in the air. "Is everything okay?" she asked softly. I don't know," Sarah breathed, finally releasing her grip and opening the door. She followed Jake out, her heart pounding as they approached the woman she had nearly forgotten. Julia looked different, older, perhaps, but there was a warmth in her eyes that had once drawn Sarah in. As Jake raced into his aunt's arms, Sarah swallowed hard. Julia enveloped him in an embrace, a tight squeeze that made Sarah's heart swell despite the tension. "I've missed you so much." Julia's voice was thick with emotion, and Sarah watched, feeling strangely on the outside of this moment. Aunt Julia had always been the one who left, the one who chose distance, leaving behind a trail of broken ties and silent phone calls. "Can we go to the park together?" Jake beamed, still wrapped in Julia's comforting arms. "Of course," Julia replied, a smile spreading wide across her face. She let go of Jake and turned to Sarah, their eyes locking in the charged space between them. There was so much unsaid, so much left to explore. "Can we talk?" Sarah finally broke the silence, her voice barely above a whisper. "Absolutely," Julia nodded, and with that simple answer, the walls of time and hurt shifted slightly. They walked a few steps away from Jake, who was marveling at a bug crawling nearby. Emily lingered close, observing the sisters with quiet apprehension. "Why now?" Sarah asked, her eyes searching Julia's. After all this time? Julia took a deep breath, her expression shifting from joy to seriousness. "I've been thinking a lot about what family means. I saw you both in my dreams, and it reminded me of everything I lost. I want to be there for you and Jake if you'll let me." The words hit Sarah like a gust of wind. Was this the sincerity she had been waiting for? She felt the prick of tears at the corners of her eyes, unsure if they were of happiness or sadness. "Do you really mean that?" Sarah asked, her voice trembling. "Can you really be here after everything?" "Sarah, I'm not perfect. I made mistakes, but I want to do better," Julia replied. "I miss us. I miss being your sister." A silence hung between them, the weight of emotional years pressing down. Sarah felt the stirrings of hope, a small seed beginning to take root. But lingering doubt kept her grounded, forcing her to question what better really meant. Just then, Jake bounded back, interrupting the moment. "Aunt Julia, look! I found a ladybug!" he exclaimed, extending his tiny fingers to show his treasure. Julia laughed, the sound pure and filled with life. For the first time, Sarah felt a tiny flicker of joy awaken inside her. "Wow! That's the coolest ladybug I've ever seen," Julia exclaimed, crouching down to get a better look. The ease between them softened the tension, and Sarah watched her sister connect with her son as if flipping a switch. What if this is the start of fixing everything? Sarah thought, her heart daring to imagine a possibility, but at the same moment, doubt crept back in. What could Julia really offer them? Would she break their fragile sense of stability again? "Mom, can we play with Aunt Julia?" Jake's voice broke through her musings, innocent and full of hope. "Sure, sweetie," Sarah managed to reply, forcing a smile onto her face. Even though her mind spun with worry as they moved towards the expansive park, laughter punctuated the air. Each step brought them closer to a new path, and Sarah felt the familiar tug of hope. But would it hold? Just as Sarah felt herself beginning to relax, Julia turned to her with a serious look. I need to tell you something important, something that could change everything. Are you ready? The question hung in the air, trembling with potential, as Sarah's heart raced. Once more, what could one revelation mean for their family? And would it be the answer she had been waiting for? Or just another twist in their tangled tale? Sarah's breath caught in her throat. Julia's eyes were serious, and her words hung heavy in the air, pulsing with a mix of excitement and dread. She wasn't prepared for this. Her heart raced as she weighed the possibility of whatever news her sister might share. Are you sure? Sarah replied, her voice barely a whisper. She had been through too many disappointments to simply hope for a quick fix. She watched Julia's face, searching for any signs of deceit or hesitation. Jake, oblivious to the tension, tugged on Julia's sleeve. Aunt Julia, can we play now? He bounced on his heels, a beacon of joy amidst the uncertainty. Just a moment, buddy, Julia replied, her tone softening as she glanced at him. Then her gaze shifted back to Sarah, the clarity in her eyes unwavering. I just need to tell you why I came here today. Okay, what is it? Sarah felt a knot tightening in her stomach. Anxiety coiled around her heart, mixing with a flicker of hope. Julia took a deep breath, steadying herself. You know how I've been gone for so long. She hesitated before continuing. I found something when I was away. Something I never knew I had, and it made me think of you too. I want to share it with you. What do you mean? What did you find? Sarah asked, bewildered. Was it a lost family heirloom? Something material seemed too trivial for the weight of their fractured relationship. It's hard to explain, but I recently inherited money. Inherited money? Sarah interjected, disbelief coloring her tone. How much are we talking about? 8 million, Julia whispered, almost as if afraid to say it out loud, as if the very mention would push it away. Sarah blinked, stunned. 8 million? It didn't register immediately. You're joking, right? Julia shook her head, her expression steadfast. I'm not. Thing is, I want to use some of it for both of you. For us to help. Help how? Sarah questioned, caught between hope and suspicion. Money could be a blessing, sure, but it could also create deeper divides if not handled carefully. Julia finally knelt down to Jake's level. I want to do things differently this time. I want to set up a college fund for you, Jake, and help you, Sarah, with your own dreams. She paused, searching Sarah's eyes. I don't want to just be your sister anymore. I want to be part of your lives. I want to make good on all those years I missed, if you'll allow me. Sarah felt her heart flutter, then sink. As enticing as it sounded, the sense of disbelief was overwhelming. She had spent years building jagged walls that now threatened to come crashing down with this unexpected news. You're saying you want to buy your way back in? No, Julia said, her voice rising, filled with passion. This is about more than giving you money. It's a chance for us to rebuild, to heal our wounds. I don't want to lose you both again. Jake bounced up and down, a smile lighting up his face. That would be awesome. But Sarah's chest tightened with doubt. How would this really change things? What if the money came with strings attached? What if it wasn't enough? She wanted to believe there was a way forward, but a cloud of uncertainty hovered above them. Can I think about this? Sarah asked quietly, her voice trembling. Of course, Julia said gently, a flicker of understanding in her eyes. Just promise me you'll consider it? Turning away, Sarah watched Jake run back to the playground equipment, laughter trailing behind him. Julia's earnest offering weighed heavily on her mind, an opportunity, or another potential wound waiting to be opened. As they stood there, a moment of silence enveloped them, filled with unspoken words and heavy hearts. The wind rustled the leaves, a reminder of how change was just a heartbeat away. Suddenly, Julia broke the tension again. I want to make memories, she added. Maybe this weekend we could all go out together, start fresh? Would she take the leap? Could this be the turning point they all needed? Or would it simply lead to more heartache and confusion? Just then Jake called out with excitement, Mom. Aunt Julia, come look at the swings. Sarah exchanged a glance with Julia, their uncertainty hanging in the air. A new chapter waiting to unfold. But deep down doubt still gnawed. Could money really bring them back together? Would the truth behind Julia's wealth reveal more than Sarah bargained for? Sarah sat on the edge of a swing, the metal creaking softly as she rocked back and forth. Jake's laughter echoed around the playground, reminding her of simpler times when she and Julia were inseparable. But those memories felt distant now, buried under years of resentment and loss. "Look, Mom, I'm flying," Jake shouted as he soared higher, his arms outstretched like wings under the glimmering sun. Julia stood off to the side, her fingers nervously twisting a strand of her hair. She was watching Sarah, her eyes searching for a reaction, for a glimmer of hope. But Sarah felt like she was drifting in a sea of indecision. The news about the money hung over her like a storm cloud, threatening to unleash chaos in their lives. Julia stepped closer to Sarah on the swing. "What are you thinking?" she asked, her voice gentle yet firm, as if she could sense Sarah's turmoil. "What if this doesn't change anything?" Sarah replied, her heart racing again. "What if it just makes things worse? But what if it could be the start of something new?" Julia pressed. "I know I've let you down before, but I want to make things right. I want to be there for you." The sincerity in Julia's tone tugged at Sarah's heartstrings, making her chest constrict. A part of her craved that connection, a chance to heal their fractured relationship. But what if this offer was just a band-aid for a wound too deep? "Look, I get that this is a big decision," Julia continued. "But I have a plan. We could do family trips together, create memories, and you could finally pursue your dreams, Sarah." For the first time, Sarah's resolve flickered. Images of college, of traveling, of being free of the weight of bills, danced in her mind. Yet the contradictions clouded her vision. "It's not just about money, Julia. You know that." Jake came running toward them, beaming with joy, his cheeks flushed. "Aunt Julia! Mom! Come push me higher." His excitement sliced through the tension, infusing the air with innocent enthusiasm. Sarah couldn't help but smile at the pure joy radiating from her son. "All right, kiddo," she said, pushing the doubts to the back of her mind, if only for a moment. As she helped Jake take off into the air, she felt Julia's presence beside her. The movement of the swing seemed to match the rising tide of emotions within her. "Why does it feel so complicated?" she murmured, more to herself than Julia. "Because it matters," Julia replied softly. "We've both changed and we have the chance to be something different now. I want to be the sister and aunt you can count on, not the one who left." As Jake soared higher, his laughter turned into squeals of delight. It was infectious, and slowly it began to pull Sarah in. "But how do we trust again?" she asked, looking at Julia, searching for reassurance. Julia's reply was steady. "Trust is built through actions, and I want to show you, not just tell you. Let us start with small steps like our weekend together. No pressure, just us. We could go to the beach, hike, or even just sit and talk. I want to listen." The idea hovering in the air settled within Sarah's heart, a flicker of possibility igniting. Maybe she started, uncertainty still clinging to her words. "They could wipe the slate clean," Julia said, her gaze not wavering. "Let us rediscover what we lost." Moments later, Jake was calling for them again, his voice sincere. "Mom! Aunt Julia! Come watch me do flips. It's awesome." As Sarah watched her son, a knot of warmth spread within her. Maybe they all needed to take a leap. Maybe the answer was not in the money, but in the willingness to start anew, to embrace this chance. "Okay," Sarah said, her voice stronger now. "Let us try it. Let us go for it." Jake cheered, and Julia's smile was radiant. But Sarah couldn't help the lingering doubt. Could they truly reconstruct what was lost? Or would this fragile moment unravel before their eyes? She felt a shift deep inside, a burgeoning belief that perhaps, just perhaps, this time would be different. But as the excitement built, a small voice in her head reminded her of the trust still waiting to be rebuilt. Would the weekend reveal deeper truths? Or would it bring them closer than ever? With her heart racing and hope brewing, Sarah steeled herself for what lay ahead, ready to explore this new chapter however rocky it might be. The gentle push of the swing brought a measure of peace, but Sarah's heart was still a chaotic mix of hope and anxiety. The bright afternoon sun bathed the playground in warmth as Jake's gleeful shouts filled the air, acting like a buoy tethering her to the present moment amidst the swirling thoughts. Julia looked at her, an unspoken question lingering in the air. "Are you really ready for this?" It was a challenge shrouded in love, and Sarah could feel the weight of it pressing down on her shoulders. She nodded slowly, her heartbeat steadying as she watched Jake do another flip. Perhaps all those years lost didn't have to dictate their future. Hey, let us invite Grandma to join us this weekend too, Julia suggested with a sparkle in her eye. It'll bring back old memories. We haven't all been together in ages. The idea struck Sarah. Grandma was an essential part of their history, a thread that stitched their family together through storms and sunshine alike. That might be nice to bring her along to the beach, she said thoughtfully. Could that be a step toward forging new paths together? Perfect. I'll call her later, Julia said, her excitement infectious. As they walked towards Jake, who was now leading a small group of kids in an impromptu game of tag, Sarah began to visualize their weekend. They could reset layer by layer. She could feel the walls she had built around her heart cracking slightly. But then the worries flooded back. Doubt clouded the edges of her mind. What if Grandma saw through the facade? What if the tension blanketing the past crushed their fragile hopes? Mom! Jake called, interrupting her spiraling thoughts. Can you play too? It's way more fun when you do. His bright eyes broke through her haze. Okay, let us go, she exclaimed, letting the glee of the moment wash over her. The fear could wait. For now, she needed to be present for Jake, to embrace that childlike joy. The three of them tumbled into the fray of laughter and running feet. For those exhilarating moments, the burden of adult worries slipped away. As Sarah chased Jake around the playground, she glanced at Julia, who was breathless from laughing and keeping up. See, this is what you wanted, isn't it? Julia shouted over the cacophony, her face lit with happiness. We can create more memories like this. Yeah, Sarah breathed, feeling the smallest weight lifting. I just hope it lasts. As dusk painted the sky with streaks of orange and pink, they settled on a bench. The day had been filled with levity, yet it was also the quiet moments of reflection that filled Sarah with longing. She wondered if they would be brave enough to dig deeper, to excavate the years of silence and hurt. Julia, what if we talked about everything this weekend? Sarah ventured softly. About the past and the reasons for everything that happened? Julia looked taken aback, but then a soft smile crept onto her face. I'd like that, Sarah. I really would. But just as Sarah felt herself beginning to relax into that decision, her phone buzzed in her pocket. Pulling it out, she found a message from her mother, an image that would turn everything upside down. It was a picture of a bank statement, and the numbers on it were staggering. 8 million. Mom, Sarah muttered under her breath as she stared at the screen, disbelief washing over her like cold water. What's wrong? Julia asked, noticing the change in Sarah's demeanor. This wasn't just about trust anymore. This had the potential to change everything. And as Sarah glanced at her sister and her son, the enormity of it all settled like a heavy fog. What if this changes everything? She whispered, realizing they were standing at the edge of a cliff, about to leap into the unknown once more. With her heart racing anew, Sarah knew they were about to uncover more than just the past. The truth was coming, and it would either bind them together or tear them apart. What lay behind the next door could alter their lives forever. The weekend arrived, bathed in soft sunlight and whispers of fresh beginnings. Sarah stood by the kitchen window, heart racing, hands shaking slightly as she placed the array of snacks on the table. Jake dashed around the house, bursting with excitement, and Julia had arrived early, bringing a cooler filled with delightful treats and a contagious enthusiasm that made it harder for Sarah to keep her walls up. Mom, are we ready yet? Jake shouted from the living room, his eyes sparkling with unfettered joy. Almost, buddy, Sarah called back, stealing a glance at Julia. She was organizing the cooler, humming lightly, and Sarah could feel a mix of apprehension and hope bubbling in her chest. As they loaded the car, an undercurrent of anticipation hummed in the air. This was a new chapter, or at least Sarah dared to hope it was. Arriving at the beach, the salt air filled their lungs, and the crash of waves set a lively backdrop to what felt like an unfolding adventure. Sarah glanced at Julia, who was kneeling beside Jake, helping him construct the biggest sandcastle he'd ever imagined. Laughter rolled from their little bubble, slowly wrapping around Sarah like a warm blanket. Each moment built a fragile tapestry, a reconstruction of a connection long forgotten, woven with laughter and shared glances. Mom, look, it's the tallest castle ever. Jake squealed, pride radiating from him as he jumped up, sand clinging to his legs. That is incredible. Sarah cheered, her heart swelling as Julia beamed at Jake with unrestrained admiration. They were all here present, finally brushing past years of neglect. Yet even as joy danced around them, Sarah couldn't shake the shadows of doubt casting over her heart. The money had become an elephant in the room, its presence lingering quietly yet undeniably heavy in the air. The trio settled down on a blanket for lunch as the golden sun inched toward the horizon, painting the sky with shades of pink and orange. Julia cleared her throat, breaking the light-hearted banter, and Sarah felt a tightening in her gut. "Sarah, can we talk about everything?" Julia's voice was steady, sincere. "No more secrets, right?" Sarah replied, her own voice shaking slightly. "Right." Julia nodded earnestly, her expression filled with remorse and hope intertwined. "Okay." Sarah swallowed hard. "What about the money? Are you truly offering this to us because you want to create a real family bond?" Julia took a deep breath, her eyes softening. "I inherited it, yes, but it's not about buying your love. It's a means to show you I want to be part of your lives, especially Jake's. I know I've messed up before, but I need to make it right." Tears welled in Sarah's eyes. This wasn't just about the money or the past. It was about healing and reconnection. I want to believe in us again," she whispered, feeling every word linger with weight. "Then let us be honest together," Julia said, her voice firm yet tender. "Let us open the door to trust between us, but I need you to be honest too. You and Jake mean the world to me now." "I'm scared," Sarah admitted, her voice cracking. A gentle hand on her shoulder made her look up to see Julia, her eyes earnest. "Me too. But it starts by stepping into the unknown together. Will you take that chance?" As the ocean roared behind them, Sarah took a deep breath. "Yes, I will." The rest of the day was a whirl of laughter and carefree moments by the shore, every wave crashing against their feet like a promise, washing away remnants of hurt. They built more sandcastles, chased waves, and buried each other in laughter, each child's giggle a note in a melody of healing. That evening, as the sun melted into the ocean, Sarah felt a sense of buoyancy, the kind that whispers quiet strength. She glanced at Jake, who was deep in conversation with Julia about their day, and a flicker of relief washed over her. Could a shattered bond truly mend? Perhaps it was already beginning. As they prepared to leave, she turned to Julia and cupped her hands. "Thank you for being here. For Jake. For me. Let us keep this going. Together." The cooling night air enveloped them, and as they walked away from the beach, Sarah felt a lightness in her heart. This was the beginning of a story marked with transformation, warmth scattered across the path ahead, whispering that change, despite its chaos, could lead to something beautiful. And as she drove back home, laughter bubbling in the back seat, Sarah knew she was ready to leap, ready to embrace both the uncertain future and the flickering hope, igniting the possibility of a renewed family bond. As the moon lit up the night, illuminating their journey ahead, she whispered softly, "We'll figure this out. Together." To every audience out there, this story is a reminder that healing takes time but is possible. If you want to join this journey of love, hope, and transformation, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support for stories that connect us more deeply. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Let us grow this community and make a difference together. Don't hesitate to comment your thoughts, reactions, and feelings about the ending. And don't wait not even one more second. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this powerful transformation. Your support means everything.